The chemistry that feels like a house on fire is often just the brain recognizing a familiar smoke.
A person spends years wondering why the heart keeps picking the exact same type of person. The one who is cold, the one who is distant, the one who requires a mountain of effort just to receive a single drop of affection. A person might sit in a quiet room, staring at a phone that remains silent, feeling a physical ache in the chest, and wondering why the kind, stable, and available individuals feel so incredibly boring.
This is not a curse. This is not a sign that a person is unlovable or broken.
This is the human brain operating on an outdated map drawn in the earliest years of development. When a child grows up learning that love is something to be earned, that love is inconsistent,
or that love is something that feels like a constant knot in the stomach,
the adult version of that child will subconsciously search for that same knot and call it a spark.
In the world of modern dating, many people mistake high cortisol levels for high romantic interest. The racing heart, the sweaty palms, and the obsessive thoughts are not always signs of a soulmate. More often than not, those feelings are the biological signals of an activated nervous system responding to a perceived threat. To a brain wired for chaos, peace feels like an anomaly. Safety feels like a foreign language that the brain has not yet learned to speak.
A healthy person might enter the life of someone with an anxious attachment style, offering consistency, transparency, and warmth.
Yet, instead of feeling relief, the anxious individual often feels a sense of emptiness or a lack of chemistry. The brain whispers that there is no challenge here, and therefore there is no value. This is the tragedy of the attachment trap. The heart is not a broken compass. The heart is a highly trained, heat-seeking missile, looking for the very patterns that once caused the most pain. This psychological phenomenon is known as repetition compulsion. It is the subconscious mind attempting to go back in time, find a person who represents a cold or distant caregiver, and finally win their approval to heal the original wound. A person stays in this exhausting loop because winning over a cold person feels like finally proving to the inner child that the inner child is worthy of existing. The chase provides a temporary sense of purpose, a distraction from the deep-seated belief that one is fundamentally flawed. But the truth remains, a person cannot heal in the same environment or with the same type of person that caused the sickness in the first place. You are not addicted to the pain. You are addicted to the hope that this time the ending will be different. You are addicted to the fantasy that if you can just be perfect enough, the distant person will finally choose you. This realization is the beginning of the end of the cycle. This is the moment where the map starts to change. This is the moment where the seeker stops looking for a mirror of their past and starts looking for a partner for their future. To understand why the heart seeks out the very hands that might break it, one must look deep into the architecture of the human brain.
This is the realm of the Type 1 seeker, often known as the rescuer.
The rescuer is a person who views every cold or emotionally distant partner as a project.
When the rescuer encounters a partner who is unavailable, the rescuer does not see a red flag.
Instead, the rescuer sees an opportunity. The rescuer believes that with enough patience, enough kindness, and enough self-sacrifice, the rescuer can finally unlock the hidden warmth within the partner. This behavior is a sophisticated defense mechanism. By focusing entirely on fixing another person, the rescuer avoids the terrifying task of looking at the rescuer's own internal wounds. The rescuer feels a sense of power and control when the rescuer is needed. For the rescuer, being needed is the only safe substitute for being truly known and loved. However, this creates a tragic imbalance.
The rescuer pours energy into a bottomless pit, constantly monitoring the partner's moods,
interpreting every silence as a crisis to be solved, and losing the rescuer's own identity in the process. Deep below this surface behavior lies the Type 2 seeker, the child who is simply trying to find the way home.
This is where neuroscience meets the ghost of the past. The human brain is a pattern recognition machine. In the earliest years of life, the amygdala, the brain's emotional center, records the frequency of love. If a caregiver was distant, distracted, or only affectionate when a child performed well, the amygdala interprets that specific frequency as home. As an adult, when this person meets a stable and consistent partner, the amygdala does not register safety. Instead, the amygdala registers boredom. There is no biological spark because there is no familiarity.
But when this person meets someone who is dismissive or hard to reach, the amygdala begins to fire rapidly.
The brain recognizes the old, painful frequency of childhood. This recognition creates a powerful, albeit toxic, sense of attraction.
The brain mistakes the high levels of cortisol, the stress hormone, for the excitement of a soulmate. The science of addiction plays a massive role here through a concept called intermittent reinforcement. This is the same mechanism that makes gambling so addictive.
If a partner is cold most of the time but occasionally offers a small crumb of affection, the seeker's brain receives a massive surge of dopamine.
Because the reward is unpredictable, the seeker becomes obsessed with chasing the next high. The seeker becomes a gambler at the casino of love, throwing more time, more emotion, and more dignity into the game, hoping for the jackpot of the partner's full attention.
The seeker is not addicted to the person. The seeker is addicted to the relief that comes when the person finally stops being distant. This is the biological reality of repetition compulsion. The prefrontal cortex, the rational part of the brain, might know that the partner is bad for the seeker.
The prefrontal cortex sees the logic, the missed calls, and the cold shoulders.
But the prefrontal cortex is often no match for the limbic system, which is screaming that this partner is the key to fixing the past.
The seeker is subconsciously trying to master an old trauma by recreating it in the present. The seeker thinks that if the seeker can finally get this cold partner to love the seeker,
then the seeker will finally be healed from the original neglect experienced years ago. It is a quest for closure that leads only to more openings.
Every time the partner pulls away, it reinforces the seeker's deep-seated belief that the seeker is not enough. This belief then fuels even more desperate attempts to win the partner back.
The cycle is not about the partner at all. The partner is merely a mirror reflecting a version of the seeker that was never taught how to feel safe in the presence of peace. The seeker lives in a state of high alert, a constant fight-or-flight mode that the seeker calls passion. But passion should not feel like a threat to the seeker's survival. Real connection does not require a person to disappear in order for the connection to exist. Now the focus shifts to the Type 3 seeker, a perspective that changes everything. This is the archaeologist of the soul. Most people look at the habit of chasing unavailable people and call it a weakness, a lack of self-respect, or a tragic flaw. But there is a much deeper, much more powerful truth hidden beneath the surface of this struggle. This repetitive pursuit is actually a profound testament to the resilience of the human spirit. The archaeologist of the soul is not a victim of the past.
The archaeologist of the soul is a brave explorer attempting to perform the ultimate act of self-healing.
Imagine the archaeologist of the soul standing in the middle of a familiar, painful landscape. The archaeologist of the soul holds the tools of persistence and deep empathy.
While others might run away from the coldness of a distant partner, the archaeologist of the soul moves closer.
Why? Because the archaeologist of the soul possesses a subconscious belief that no heart is truly unreachable. This is not a sign of being broken. This is a sign of an incredible, almost superhuman capacity for hope.
The seeker is not chasing a person. The seeker is chasing the resolution of a story that began a long time ago. The seeker is looking at the coldness of the current partner and seeing a doorway to the coldness of a parent or a caregiver.
By trying to turn that coldness into warmth, the seeker is attempting to rewrite history.
The twist is this. The very intensity that makes a person chase the wrong partner is the same intensity that will eventually allow that person to heal themselves.
This behavior is not a malfunction. It is a biological survival mechanism that has been misdirected.
The human brain is so determined to heal the original wound that the brain will provide the seeker with endless energy to pursue the goal.
When the seeker finally realizes that the power does not come from the partner, but from within the seeker's own heart, a transformation occurs.
The seeker begins to realize that the archaeologist of the soul has been looking for a treasure in the wrong cave. The treasure is not the love of a distant person.
The treasure is the realization that the seeker survived the original coldness and is still standing, still capable of loving with such ferocity. Think of the courage required to repeatedly face the thing that scares the soul the most.
Most people live in avoidance, but the seeker lives in the arena. The seeker faces rejection, silence, and emotional distance over and over again. This is a form of emotional training. The seeker has developed a high tolerance for discomfort and a deep understanding of the human shadow. When the seeker stops using this strength to chase people who cannot give back and starts using this strength to protect and nurture the seeker's own life, the seeker becomes unstoppable.
The seeker is not a hopeless romantic. The seeker is a powerful healer who simply needs to redirect the healing light. The journey of the heart often feels like navigating a dense forest with a compass that only points toward the shadows. This is the reality of the outdated GPS mentioned earlier. The map was drawn during a time when survival depended on the attention of others. But the forest has changed, and the person holding the map has grown. It is time to stop blaming the heart for following the only directions the heart was ever given. The first step toward a different kind of love is not finding a new person, but acknowledging that the old map is no longer accurate. When a person feels that familiar, overwhelming spark for someone who is distant or inconsistent, the person must learn to pause.
The person must look at that spark not as a green light to move forward, but as a warning light on a dashboard.
That intense feeling is the brain signaling that a past trauma is being triggered. It is not a sign of destiny, it is a sign of a pattern. The practical application for the seeker is a simple yet difficult micro-step, the 24-hour rule of observation. When the seeker meets someone new and feels an immediate magnetic pull toward a person who seems mysterious or hard to read, the seeker must wait 24 hours before acting on that impulse. During this time, the seeker should ask a single question. Does this feeling come from a place of peace, or does this feeling come from a place of anxiety?
If the attraction is built on the fear of losing the person or the need to prove something to the person, then the seeker is looking at a ghost from the past.
A healthy connection might feel less like a roller coaster and more like a steady walk. For many seekers, this steadiness will initially feel boring. This is the most important part of the transition.
The seeker must learn to redefine boring as safe. Safe is where growth happens. Safe is where the nervous system finally gets to rest. Safe is the only foundation upon which a lasting future can be built.
The transition from a pursuer to a self-protector does not happen overnight. There will be days when the old map feels more comfortable than the new one.
There will be moments when the silence of an unavailable person feels more attractive than the presence of a kind one.
In those moments, the seeker must practice extreme self-compassion.
The seeker is not relapsing into old habits. The seeker is simply a human being with a very long memory.
Healing is not a straight line. Healing is a spiral that slowly moves away from the center of the pain. Every time the seeker chooses peace over chaos, the seeker is drawing a new line on the map. Every time the seeker admits that the seeker deserves more than crumbs of affection, the seeker is reclaiming a piece of the soul that was given away long ago. The world often tells people that love is a battle, that love is a hunt, or that love is a sacrifice. But true love should feel like coming home after a very long trip. It should not feel like an endless audition for a role that the seeker was never meant to play. The seeker has spent enough time trying to unlock doors that were never meant to open. It is time to walk away from those doors and look at the keys the seeker has been holding all along. The seeker is the author of the next chapter. The person is defined by the courage it takes to finally choose oneself.